Welcome to Worlds Within, where story becomes space. We're your hosts, Alyssa and Ash, and every episode we explore fictional worlds that don't just live on the page. They pull you in, build themselves around you, and let you wander through them. This is a podcast for readers who don't just love books, they live in them. We dive deep into sensory storytelling, character perspectives, and the world-building mechanics that turn fiction into a fully immersive experience. Last episode, Alyssa took us to the dark, blood-soaked trials of the Serpent and the Wings of Night. Today, we are diving into The Veins of the Drowning by Kalie Cassidy.
I'm so happy to be doing this episode.
Me too.
Oh my gosh. So as you all know, we open each episode with a plot teaser. We make a cup of tea to match the book and read our synopsis. Fair warning, throughout the show, we are going to discuss some spoilers. So if you want to remain unspoiled, we'll see you later. Today's tea is butterfly pea flower tea, chosen specifically for the color. For those of you listening and not watching, when brewed, this tea is a rich, deep blue like the sea. And when you add a little bit of lemon, the color does change to purple, much like our main character in this book. Not that she changes into purple, but she does go through a transformation. We've got it brewing here in our glass teapot. If you can see the color, oh gosh, maybe not. But we're going to go ahead and pour as we get into the synopsis. Oh my gosh, it's so blue.
Another fun fact, if you add like a hibiscus tea when you're brewing, it turns like a purpley red color that is very much like blood on the water.
Oh. Ooh. While Ash is pouring her blue tea, oh my gosh, it looks like it's dyed. It's so blue.
This looks like blue Kool-Aid. I swear that it is not. I swear this is tea.
It is tea, we promise. A little synopsis for our book today. Imogen Nell is in hiding from a cruel kingdom that believes sirens are monstrous, blood-hungry creatures. Hiding from a king and his captain who viciously hunt her kind. Hiding from her own alluring abilities. By keeping herself from the sea, Imogen's bloodlust is dulled, and her black wings remain hidden beneath her skin. When a neighboring king comes to visit, Imogen can no longer hide. He knows precisely what she is, and believes she can save both their kingdoms from an even greater monster. But Imogen's power threatens to violently reveal itself, and the two form a blood bond that protects them both. They flee the kingdom together, traversing waters teeming with the undead. As the lines between duty to their people and desire for each other begin to blur, Imogen worries her own ancestral powers may not be enough to kill what hunts her. The only way to defeat a monster may be to become one herself.
Ooh. That's a really, really well-written synopsis.
It is.
So I had seen this book on several TikTok book talk suggestion lists. But it was down there on the TBR. Like I was not like jumping to get to this one. When you have a TBR as long as I do though, like, or as either of us do, it's endless. So it's like things just shift. But I was really grateful when you suggested this for season 1 because that priority shift was an excellent move.
Yeah. Again, same. I had no relationship to this book, which is a little bit of a deviation from our first season of Show and Tell, even though this is my selection, but I guess I'm just showing it to both of us. But it's been recommended everywhere. And truthfully, I was fully bought in from the cover and that synopsis. I was like, oh my gosh, I love when a girl turns into a monster because who doesn't? It has sirens, it has the sea. Like this just seemingly had everything. And I had heard such rave reviews and was so looking forward to it. And I'm glad we fit this one in. So let's talk about our first impressions. I'd say for the most part, it lived up to the hype. I was bought in really early to Imogen and her story and her red dress early on in the book. I kept picturing her dress like Lydia Dietz when she is forced to marry Beetlejuice. And that just like stuck with me. But I felt those early scenes were so great, especially the sensory details around the scenes in that main hall of the castle. The candlelight, the music, the pulse of the bodies, smell of the sea, and this like looming weight of that siren wing just really set the tone for me. pulled me in, wanted to keep going. I will say, though, when I was first seeing this book, I thought it was going to be more like mermaid siren. So I was pleasantly surprised to see that it was the Greek mythology version of sirens where it's half woman, half bird. That was a pleasant surprise and honestly makes the cover make much more sense.
Yeah, agreed. The sensory descriptors in this book were next level, out of this world. And as a person who very much loves like the smell of the wind on the water and like that briny like scent, I soaked that all up like a sponge. And like the difference like that she uses to like the warmth of the hall and the salt smell there versus like the outdoor cooler, like it's lighter scented. I loved all of that. Also weirdly, all of her characters were very, very vivid in so much that I could picture them as like real people that like I either know or have seen.
Oh yeah.
When we first meet Theo and like she's describing his voice and the way it rumbles in his chest and like the look of him and like the way he carries himself, all I could see was, and I forget his name now, but the actor who played Captain Hook in Once Upon a Time, the ABC show. And like that just lived, like I saw him through the entire thing. Eyeliner and all.
Good choice.
So yeah, there was definitely a lot of excellent sensory storytelling here. Should we talk about what else we experienced?
Let's do it. So let's talk about how Cassidy built this world. First, with a sense of place. So we are in a world or kingdom called Lucosia or Lucosia. Again, we're going to pronounce things wrong, so bear with us. But in Lucosia, there is the Isle of Seraph, and this is where Imogen's raised, where the beginning of our story takes place. It's also where King Nemia's castle/fort is built. And we pictured it very similarly, very rugged, like a volcanic type island, even though it has some cypress trees, but it's harsh and jagged.
Yeah, I'm thinking like black sand beach, like I think we had at one point mentioned like one of the islands in Hawaii where it's dark sand, it's very rocky, and like sand is not even the right word for it because they're just such large granules and so yeah, very unwelcoming.
Perfect. Perfect description. And then from there, we have Imogen travel to Varia with Theo, King Theo. And that is a moment of stark contrast. It feels much lighter. It feels softer. It feels safer.
And it was very lush.
And we get a couple other mentions of different places in this world, including Obelia. Much more on that later with the characters who come from there, as well as the Mage Seer's homes and a specific island where the sirens come from, unclear, called Anthomoessa. That's what we're going with.
That's what we're going with.
We don't actually visit Anthomoessa in this book, but it's coming. It seems like it's coming.
I was going to say, it is very much on the trajectory.
Yeah. So that gives us kind of a sense of place. I'm going to be honest. For me, I thought, though the descriptions of place were good, this could have been anywhere.
Yeah.
It didn't feel so grounded in reality or so fleshed out that I was like, oh, this is a defined world. This could have been anywhere to me.
Yeah, this could have definitely been like, honestly, it could have been the Hawaiian Islands.
Yeah.
It could have been any of the like Virgin or Cayman, or it could have been any of those.
Yep.
And I would have been like, yep, all right, I can go there.
I'm
like,
buying it.
There we go.
Yeah. Where I felt that Cassidy spent more of her time was trying to give us lore about this world between the gods and the magic system. And what really struck me in this book is the recency of the gods. Because we've read a lot of fantasy, and the gods are always like this mythos, this lore that is ancient, right? They've lived so long ago. We're so far away from them. In this book, we're like one generation removed from gods, which I thought was crazy.
Well,
and so different.
But you think about it, like as you mentioned at the top, these are like Greek mythology sirens versus like mermaid sirens. And when you read Greek mythology, it is very much they are in and among us,
Yeah.
or are just recently gone. So it does very much read in like a Greek mythos.
For sure. And what we learned in this world is that mortals, or some of our characters, are descendants of the gods themselves. And because they are within that family tree, they retain some of their powers. For example, Theo is a descendant of a god. I believe the god was his grandfather. Could be great, but
grandfather.
One of those.
Yeah.
But has the same powers of healing and growth and kind of mending and putting things back together. We get a really interesting story about Theo and his dad that incorporates the god power, but also magic, which I really loved and thought made Theo a full character and gave us a little bit more lore about the magic. Because Theo's dad is from the same lineage, of course, but did not have as much of the god power and felt that it was his duty and his, I don't know, calling to transfer that power to Theo and have Theo ascend on the throne, which was done via magic, not god power.
Is such a, like, it's such a complicated thing in that, like, there's the jealousy of a parent of their child when they have something, you know, that they've always desired, but they have more of it or whatever. But also there's always that fear generally of like your children taking over or like whatever. He willingly passes on that power and steps aside rather than trying to force Theo to give him the power. And I think that in spite of obviously some, you know, tenuous energy between them, he still did what in theory was like the kinder option.
Yeah.
Or like the selfless option. So
thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
And just nice to have some backstory on our characters. Yeah. We also know that Imogen has some additional power. And she is a siren, but then she's also a descendant of a god herself and has special siren powers that are goddess given.
Yes.
Apologies for the punctuation in my my speech today. I'm going to be honest, some of this was very confusing for us to read through. So we're working our way through it.
There's just not a lot of clarity on some of it. Like some of it you just have to, I'll start with this now. Reading this for vibes versus reading this for like understanding, two very different experiences.
Very.
Very different. And sometimes that happens and that's okay. But yeah, so we're gonna trudge through some of that.
We are.
And that's okay.
So Imogen is the daughter of King Nemea and Ligeia, who is a goddess of the sirens, but also of like the air and the sea and yada, yada, yada. All those things that come together. Ligeia has a sister, Eucia. Eucia, not a god, or not as many god power, unclear. Not a god, though.
Not a god.
Not recognized in this world as a god or goddess.
Not part of the pantheon.
Not part of the pantheon. We're bringing it back. But she becomes a little bit power hungry, Eucia, in the lore that we're getting. Eucia practices magic. She becomes the first mage. And the mages are what ties us to this magic system in this world that Cassidy has built.
Yeah. Sorry, I got distracted because I had a thought. So like she gains this power for herself, but where most power, like you said she's power hungry and she does become that, but it doesn't start as like a power hungry. It's just like she wants to belong and she creates this and she like starts just doing the magic that she's able to do. And then that like, it's the like power corrupts kind of mentality. Like as she's going through and she realizes how much she has to lose, that's when like, she's like, okay, well now I need more.
Yeah. And the magic in this world, I think very similar across a lot of fantasy books, comes with a cost, right? But both the person practicing magic pays the price, but then if they're performing magic for someone else, they're charging a price, which I thought was kind of interesting and not something that I had seen a ton.
Yeah, I mean, it's very the cost to the benefit, like the person who is receiving the spell, like that makes sense. Like we do see like an exchange. But like in this case, that exchange is necessary in order to like, it's basically, it's like the service fee on a credit card transaction. Like, I mean, like they're paying, like the mage has to pay. Now I think they like the way that they describe it, they pay way more.
So much more.
Because they lose so much. And also like you're using magic and then the payment from the person like helps rebolster some of that, but you're still penalized for it.
It's like the service. We're just passing it on to the customer.
Yes, it's fine.
But overall, I wanted more or clearer explanation of magic versus gods, and then also just the mythology family tree. I thought we could have done a little bit more there. It felt background to me when I, like you said, reading for vibes, really great, can breeze through it, enjoyed it, thought it added to the story. But reading for understanding and wanting to be in this world and have a sense of place didn't do it for me.
Yeah. And I think we also talked the timeline.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
The gods are both were recently among us. Like, again, Lygia, even as recently as 25 years ago, was present.
Yeah.
And like around. And she's the last one that we lose. But it's only been 25 years.
Yeah.
But then like there's other times where like they're reading the book and the god of memory like had written all these things and how he was ancient and it's so long ago. And I'm like, well, wait, but when are we?
Yes.
Like, what are we now? What was this recent? Was this hundreds of thousands of years ago? Because it could have been any of those things.
Time is very fuzzy in this book.
Wibbly wobbly time, you know what I mean?
Yes. Even when separate from that, like even the timing and pace within the book, like it, like Imogen and Theo are only together for a handful of days.
I mean, that we read about. In theory, it's
a couple weeks.
It's a couple weeks because there's all that time on the water that we really don't get.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, they're only on land a week.
Right. But speaking of water, let's talk about the siren lore in this book. Like I said at the top, I went into this expecting it to be your mermaid siren. But again, was pleasantly surprised to hear that it was the Greek version, which are half bird instead of half fish. But some of that, some of those tropes remain the same, right? So the sirens in this book are able to send a lure out with their powers. They are able to sing a song that then controls the target. They control air, which I thought was fascinating and so good for so many reasons. But they are tied to the sea and the air. Their power and instinct to drown was made stronger by their proximity to it. And that's a direct quote about the sirens themselves, which, I don't know, I just really loved it.
I mean, I would love to be closer to the sea and therefore drown people who displease me. So,
wow. Okay. So she wants to be a vampire and
a
siren.
she-seer.
And a she-seer and a siren. Okay.
I just want to live in a fantasy world.
That's it. I do wish we gotten more, though. I wanted so much more about the sirens in this world. How long have they been around? How many of them are there? Have they always been hunted by King Nemia's kingdom, like the Isle of Seraph? There's so much opportunity. We've gotten breadcrumbs and I want to continue to follow them.
I'm hoping that we get more in like subsequent books because at one point, like even Imogen is like, I didn't know anything about this. Why didn't you tell me to her fellow siren? And her fellow siren's like, you didn't want to know.
Yeah.
Like I could have told you so many things, but you didn't want to know. And she's like, yeah, you're right. Cause like I was never going to be a part of that world. So I didn't want to die a little more every time I lost something that I never had, which a beautifully sad thing to think about. But I'm hoping that now that she is in and of this world and embracing who she is and who she's meant to be, that we get some more of that in the future.
Yeah, agreed. Something else I want more of in the future are the zombie sirens.
Yes.
The Nekaya, who Imogen had no idea existed. And that moment when she first comes upon them entering the seas of Varia was powerful. But the Nekaya are a creation of Usia, and they are themselves zombie sirens who are stitched together with pieces of the sea, like described as like kelp keeping their wounds closed or tentacles holding on their arms. Like, not like holding onto their arms, but keeping their arms held on to their bodies.
Like stitched together.
Yeah, I really loved those descriptions, and I thought the hive mind of the Nekgaya was a really cool too part of this world.
Yeah, I almost thought at first when she's like the scene happens because she like goes cold and she's like so taken aback that I thought it was just a vision. Like I thought she was just like experiencing some out of body moment, and then you're like, oh no, this is really happening.
Yeah,
like this is a real thing that you're seeing.
There's a scary lady under there.
That is a scary lady down there. So also, again, spoilers. I am interested to see, because we see that the Nekgaya are held together, as you say, with pieces of the sea. And then at the end, when she gets stitched together with a piece of kelp, how does that impact her and her power? And like, I feel like that's got to have, I mean, obviously, you know that like, again, magic like that comes at a price. And I don't think she's fully paid it yet. I don't think it's as simple as, you know, the fat and the blood or the hair that she was losing. Like, I don't think it's as simple as that. I think that that's going to have longer term ramifications.
Agreed. And I think hints at something that has already been long term in Imogen's life. And that's the blood bond that was created between her and Usia against her will, like as an infant.
Yeah.
Which we just don't know how her being stitched together with kelp and using that spell, as well as this blood bond that she has with Usia, is going to come into play. But the blood bonds in this world are cool.
Fascinating.
I really enjoyed them. And we get a lot of them, and they're so different between each couple that has them. The first mention we get is between Imogen and Evander. And Evander is King Nemia's admiral? I don't know. His main siren hunter. And up until this point, early in the book, Imogen's abilities to shift or her sirenness have been hidden, and Evander didn't know, allegedly. But then Imogen changes in a throes of passion with Evander, which was really well written. And Evander, instead of like, oh, I have to kill you now, is like, oh, I'm going to blood bond with you to, quote, protect himself from her powers.
Which is, I mean, it's not wrong. It would protect him from both her powers and, obviously, as we see with other blood bonded people, from another siren's powers. So,
but it turns out that Evander really just wants to have this blood bond with Imogen to make him an even better siren hunter.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate because she feels, often we get this throughout, Imogen feels like a pawn. She feels very used, very objectified in a lot of ways. And much of this story is her overcoming those feelings and finding her footing in independence. Another blood bond we get is between Imogen and Theo. They decide to consensually have one. Eventually, for protection and for her rescuing. Some things about this blood bond are, until it settles in the blood, either party, if they're too far apart, they get violently ill. So we've got that forced proximity trope, which worked well for me. And then it also brings out these intense feelings of jealousy and desire as the bond continues to settle. It is very painful to perform and even worse to undo.
But only for the siren.
Yeah.
Which I thought was wild. Like, because they describe both times that, like, yes, the non-siren does like have some discomfort. They do experience the sickness of the settling, but like it doesn't hurt to initiate or the bond or the breaking
As bad, yeah.
So,
and the only reason we know that
rude.
it's painful to undo is because we have yet another example of a blood bond between Agatha and Lachlan. They had been bonded many moons ago and were forced to undo their bond via the mage seer. And we learned that Agatha had quite a time with her blood bond undoing. But the love between Agatha and Lachlan still remains, and I think is so sweet and such a nice like C plot to the whole book.
Yes.
Really enjoyed that.
And I also again look forward to seeing more of that, because I think one of the best, I think, bits of the book is when Imogen tells Agatha, like, it's not that what you have is over. Like, you still love him. You're just trying to make something fit like it did 20 years ago.
And it's different now.
And it's different now. You're different people. You're in different places in life. And like, you just need to relearn each other and figure out how your pieces fit together now. Like, give that a shot before you say that it's over. And I just thought that was so beautiful, because people do grow and change. And when you're together, you can do that together. But if you're not, then you have to refigure out where those edges meet up.
Yeah.
So
it's those moments of reality that help this world feel texturally real, even if we have some confusion about the gods and the magic and I'm really just that, but I'm wanting more.
Yeah.
One of the final bonds that we learn about is between King Nemea and Ligeia, which was incredible, like such a reveal at near the end of the book, but then also leaves so many questions, because we learn that Imogen tries to throw a lure out to King Nemea to kill him, and he's immune. And what that means is that the bond is still intact. And so Ligeia, who we all thought is dead, may not be. And so now it's like, okay, give me book 2. Where is she?
Yeah.
I have to know.
And like that came out of nowhere.
Yeah, it really did.
But also when you look at like, so Imogen and Theo ultimately had a consensual bond, but she was prepared to force him. Which, like mother, like daughter, Ligeia forced Nemea's hand, like made it happen. And so we look at all these bonds, and so you have Theo and Imogen, who it's consensual but forced. Like, it's out of necessity to some degree.
And it was always going to come to an end.
Exactly.
Like, they both entered it knowing this is just to get you off this island, get you safe, and then we're gonna separate this. Yep.
And then you have where obviously this bond didn't happen, but you have Evander and Imogen, where again it would have been. I mean it wasn't consensual, but like also she was trying to avoid it, but she wasn't going to stop it necessarily. And she that one was like a power dynamic, but it was him wanting power over her. But then you have Agatha and Lachlan, where it's built out of this love and this trust and this desire to be together. And then you have this forced one between Nemea and Ligeia, and hers was for her own protection. So many like nuances. Yeah.
So many use cases for these blood bonds. I think that covers a lot of the world building here. We get some little bits and pieces of like kingdoms and politics between them, especially between the Isle of Sarath and Obelia, and how that plays into Varia, and why the Empress of Obelia is so hell-bent on getting this marriage done and these contracts.
She is a character.
She's fascinating.
I'm so desperate to learn more about her.
Yeah. And Hala, I thought, was such like a sweet but throwaway character here.
Yeah, but has potential. She has potential to become.
Hopefully,
I think she does. I'm going to be really disappointed if she does become a throwaway character. But I'm watching her.
Yeah, for sure. But I would say the kingdom politics are not central to the world building. What remains central, I think, throughout this story are the gods and the magic and the costs there, the recency of the gods and what that contributes to the world, the sirens and those tropes and lore that we rely upon with them, and then the blood bonds and the various ways that they're used really flesh out kind of the world that we're in, even if a sense of place could be anywhere.
Yeah, agreed.
But how Cassidy does it with the prose, honestly, so far, unmatched.
Yeah, I think, again, that's why I think reading for vibes this book was out of this world.
Beautifully written.
Because even though it could have been anywhere, it could have been just like, again, an island that we know, I've never wanted to be anywhere more desperately.
Yeah. And I think why she nails it, because it's not overly flowery. It's not page after page in a ACOTAR sort of way of the description of the scent of the air. Like it is succinct, but it is poignant. And it is so beautifully done that it creates this really rich, atmospheric, somewhat gothic at times immersion, which I just loved so much.
And it's such a balance of like what you're seeing, what you're hearing, what you're smelling. Like she triggers all of them in little bits and little ways, and it creates this like nuanced like soup of sensory immersion.
Yes, for sure. You hit it, I think, in your first impression, but talking about the air had grown heavy with the scent of the sea. I could nearly taste it curling through the warm throne room like a tentacle.
Yep.
Immediately, yes.
Done.
We know what that smells like, and you know how powerful it is, right? You know, and you can visualize. I don't know, I love that. Like the visualization of a scent, that it's curling through like a tentacle. Oh, so good.
Yeah. And then the stark contrast that she gives you, because you have that warmth from the throne room and the scent of the sea, and then she steps outside. The air outside was cool and clear, blessedly empty of brine.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good. And then when you were talking about your casting of Theo, this was the quote. And in prepping for this episode, we both were like, we have to talk about this because finally, in a voice that rolled through his chest like storms over the valley. Ladies, am I right?
Take me now.
So good. Storms over the valley, like, my goodness, loved it. But just a succinct but beautiful way to describe a sound.
One sentence.
Yes. And then we get early in that scene, another good description of sound. The music rose, a swell of strings, and a drum like a heartbeat filled my ears, which is so simple. But in the context of this scene, you almost feel the music tempo and pressure change with Imogen's emotion that's present in this scene. And it becomes this like background pulse in that dance.
Yeah.
Which was really great. Something else I wanted to call out was the way that Cassidy describes light. It is gorgeous in so many ways, and she does it all in a variety of ways throughout the book, from soft, dim candlelight to candles glowed in their iron holders, giving off a secret kind of light. It's just beautiful. It's beautiful.
I like you pulled out the moonlight dripped like quicksilver over the sill. And I love, because I can see that. It's when that fluidity that moonlight has, like when it's like casting over things and casting its shadows, like I could see that. I could like, that's a real thing, you know?
And then the last one was in the Mage Seer's hut. She was describing the light that the three orbs gave off, and it, quote, a dampened brightness, like when a lantern cuts through the webbing between a finger and thumb. We all, I don't know if we have, the two of us, have held a flashlight up to that soft part between your finger and thumb, and you know what the light looks like through there. And it's such, I don't know, a visceral description of something that is so not visceral.
Yeah. And I think, like, again, obviously I've read all of the ACOTAR books and I do very much love them. And Moss does often talk about like the light through the membranes of the wings.
Yep.
And I've always appreciated that descriptor. This was better. Like that descriptor, I was like, oh, yeah.
Yeah. There's just something about it. That really helped. All of these sensory immersion points and the descriptions helped pull me into the world where I felt confused about the lore. I was like, okay, yeah, I don't really know what's happening with this family tree between Ligeia and Mia and Ucia and that guy. Maybe I don't really need to know because from here on vibes, this is beautiful.
Yes.
Yeah. Something we haven't mentioned is the romance in this book. which I thought was beautifully done.
It was beautifully done.
And I think it is very slow burn, right? We've got the forced proximity. The main, we're looking at Imogen and Theo through this. And the spice, though mild, mostly feels earned in a way that it's not like overly gratuitous. Like it just feels earned, which I like.
And I liked, a lot of this book gave me like, it gave me like a sense of blue balls basically, because I'm like waiting for it. But again, it made it worth it. And it wasn't a forced wait. It was like, we're going to get there, and then something happens that makes sense, and then they pull back.
Yeah.
But it's not like, oh, we're just pulling back and like playing this game to play the game.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, it was so good. I really liked the romance part of this, even if it was, I don't know, it was kind of central to the story.
Yeah.
In this world.
But also not the focal point.
Yeah.
Like it was a natural part of the story.
It's a well-written story.
It is a really well-written story.
All right, let's move on to our portal moments. At the end of each of our episodes, we talk about our peak portal moment. And this is the moment in the book where we felt most immersed, where we were really pulled in, and where this world took up the most space. I'm going to let you go first.
Okay. So it was where a lot of the portal moments are like big and grand from the get. Mine was not this time. When they do Hala's ritual on the beach, they get there and like she sees Hala and she describes her as so pale and wan and like the stark contrast of the blood, and like she's talking about all these things, and you can hear in those moments that like low cello in the background hitting that's haunting. Like that's very haunting and very much like something is about to happen. And it's very like, but it's very subtle. And it like whispers to you, and they're going through things. And it's like, you can see the wheels turning in Imogen's head, even like, not even in the writing, but or not even like in what we're being told she's thinking, but you can just like in everything in the moment, you're like, something's going on, something's going to happen. And as it starts to happen and you realize that, oh my gosh, she is like she's doing the spell, she's making this offering to Usia, and like the realization that hits everybody, like it's just this big like crescendo and climactic moment, and like that Hala's voice goes from like soft and sweet and lilting to the gravelly, and like all I could hear was like a pack-a-day smoker named Marge, like but she becomes so like bloodshot eyes and other, and then the flip back to soft and lilting with a little bit of bite. And that whole scene, I was just like, I was hooked. I was in, because it's so slow and soft and subtle, and it's this big moment, and then it doesn't really die off. It just settles. Yeah. And it was very, very well done.
And it kind of, that crescendo leads us into the final third of the book, where the pace and the action happens so fast.
Yeah.
So fast. But it is that transition of Hala from this seemingly sweet, simple, docile girl to other that was incredible. Incredible.
And that's why I'm really hoping she doesn't become a throwaway character, because that moment was like a glimmer of hope that like, there's more to you.
Yeah.
You are like, I would hazard to say she's a linchpin in the plot moving forward.
Oh, I guess we'll have to see. Look at us. We're just so ready for book 2.
We are ready for book 2.
This was Kalie Cassidy's debut novel, which is incredible.
It is incredible.
So,
which is why I can forgive like the magic system, like, because like it's the first time.
Yeah.
Like you haven't figured it out.
Yeah. Okay. My portal moment happens early in the book. So full transparency, I was reading this on a plane, as one does, and could not ignore the people around me enough. Like, I was so fully pulled into this moment, I forgot that I was on a plane, and I thought I was right here with Imogen and Evander. So early in the book, Evander is forcing Imogen to turn into a siren, because that is the only time that a blood bond can happen, is when Imogen is in her siren form. And in order to do that, he has to force seawater down her throat. So he orders all of his men to fill the bathtub with seawater and has a pipe ready to drown her, essentially. But her description of Imogen's descriptions of her emotionality in this scene, going from this anticipation and fear, and then the feeling of her hitting the water and feeling the side of the tub, and all of that changes, and it becomes excitement and yearning for seawater. Oh my God, pulled me in. Couple quotes pulled out here. Despite everything, I wanted to taste it, to be flooded with it, describing the seawater, right? She said, drowning should burn, and I waited for it, only to remember that I could not drown. All I could feel was that odd plucking sensation between my ribs. I ate it up, wanted myself to be drowned in seawater so that I could experience this with her. She describes that feeling move through her body in such a way that is sludgy and oil-like, or rolled through her body like magma. And the words of the water, like hearing them in her head, there you are, I've been waiting for you. Stop it right now. I loved it so much. But the final, what I loved most, and where I was like, oh gosh, this is so good to me, is she said, a siren's domain is the wind and the sea, and even his breaths felt like my own, so I took them. And she drowns her fiance. At this moment, I was like, I'm all in on Imogen. I love her so much. I love this siren power that we're getting, this reveal, and how, like, I don't know, almost, I don't want to call it monstrous, because but this takeover that happens with Imogen in this moment. And then that really is like our turning point for the remaining plot of the book, is she kills Evander because she was turned into a siren. And then she's like, oh no, I really gotta go.
Really gives a new meaning to took his breath away.
Truly.
But I think it's it's interesting because she didn't mean to. She didn't understand. Like,
she didn't.
I mean, she didn't mean to kill him.
She didn't go into it
like that was
planning
not
to kill
like
him.
She just was kind of like, because she even said, she's like, I don't understand what I just did. I mean, I think she definitely, there was a self-preservation there. She definitely wanted out. She wanted an escape. But like, I don't think she would not have chosen that. If she had control of her power, she would have chosen another way.
Sure.
And we see that throughout the rest of the book as she's learning her power and whenever she like missteps.
Mm-hmm.
But also like you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. Like you forced her to change into a siren.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and
what
she
did you
wasn't,
think was gonna
what did you think was going to happen? That she was just going to be like, yeah, that's fine. Take my blood. Be my bonded guy.
Yeah.
Like, whatever.
And I think that's probably exactly what Evander thought, because up until this moment, that's the role Imogen has played, right? As King Nemia's ward. I use air quotes here because we find out that's actually his daughter. But she's played this docile creature that has just been under his rule.
Fair.
And so Evander probably did think like, yeah, we can just, I have all the power here and I'm going to get even more. Oh, so good. It's so good. And reminiscent of maybe a bonus portal scene of Imogen's first shift in the book.
What a great, like, it's a great moment. Because at first I was like, man, we're getting into this real fast, aren't we? And like, you know, her clothes are coming off and they're getting on the bed. And I'm like, well, wait, first of all, I was like, have you guys been together before? Because this felt very rushed we had never even talked until a week ago.
Right.
Like, we're engaged, but like all of a sudden, like you are jumping into bed, which no shame, like totally sex posy, but it felt very abrupt.
Yeah.
But also it needed to be because it's the height of like the height of passion and the absolute, you know, recklessness of it is what triggers that. Well, that, and then obviously the salt on his skin, but
so good. But that moment I was like, ooh, This is interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, what do you mean she's not a fish? She's a bird? I love it. I love it. I think that's a wrap. Yeah?
Yeah.
All right. Let's wrap up this episode of Worlds Within, where story became space. Before we go, though, let's give In the Veins of the Drowning our immersion rating on a scale of 1 to 10 portals. I am going to go with, oh gosh, this is tough. I am going to go with a 6 out of 10. And I say that because from the world building and wanting this world to feel like space and real and pull me in, there were a lot of things that I craved. I wanted more clarity around the gods and the timing and the magic. I wanted even more siren lore. But I thought we really nailed the sensory descriptions in the prose here, which kind of make up for some of those pieces. But overall, in terms of immersion, 6 out of 10 for me.
I was also going to do a 6 just because, again, like that, the sensory storytelling saves it for sure. And again, reading on vibes, 10 out of 10.
Yeah, it's
20 out of 10.
It's a great book.
Like I was here for it from the get. But again, like it while I could see myself there, it didn't feel real because there were so many questions of like, okay, but if I do that, but then they can do that, but I can't. Okay, wait a minute. Wait, you're from when?
Yeah.
How far in the past?
And actually, who are you?
Yeah, wait, what? So there was just so much of that I was like, this doesn't feel real. But those sensory moments definitely took me there.
Yeah,
so.
for sure. Wow. Such a good book, though.
Yes.
I think overall. But from a Worlds Within standpoint, sounds like we're solid on a 6 out of 10 here.
Yeah.
We just wanted a little bit more.
We'll see how book 2 goes. Debut book. We'll see what gets fixed.
Very true. Very true. But that officially concludes our first season of Worlds Within. We are going to take a short break to celebrate the winter season and cozy up with some good books just for fun. But we'll be back in January with a brand new set of worlds to explore and a whole new theme. So say bye-bye to Show and Tell.
Keep an eye out for our season 2 theme reveal coming soon, as well as all of our additional content on Instagram and TikTok pages. Until then, subscribe, follow, leave us a review, and let us know, where did you feel the story became space?
Bye!
Thanks again for joining us for another episode of Worlds Within, where story becomes space. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Worlds Within Pod for more episodes, sensory guides to your favorite books, and more.
And don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast streaming platform. Bye!